Hello friends, welcome to S. Kumar IS, and we were studying political science series and we completed till John Locke. So John Locke was called father of liberalism and he was scholar of possessive individualism, scholar of bourgeois class, and he focused too much on individual liberties and not liberty per se, but to maximize the profit and to maximize the pleasure of the individual. And if you have any doubt in the theories of John Locke, please ask in the comment box. I will personally answer them. Today, we'll start with John Stuart Mill, J.S. Mill. And before that, I just want to tell that we know that how these scholars are focusing too much on individual profits and capitalism. So these theories will definitely have a toll on colonies of that time. That's why we can see that John Locke's time coincides with East India Company's exploitation in India, and no need to explain why. So that's how what happens. This exploitation, due to these theories and the influence of these scholars, the capitalist class become too much exploitative, and the utilitarianism, it sort of becomes a bad word, because utilitarianism says that to maximize the utility, to maximize the pleasure, to maximize the profit is the goal of life. For example, it was said that God created the property, and to enjoy the property is right of a man. And those who are industrious, hardworking, they have property, and those who are poor, they are lazy, fanciful, and quarrelsome. And we saw that how John Locke, he was completely against the welfare state. He said that those who are poor, they are due to their own inaction, so there should not be any compensation. And just he was focusing more and more on reducing the taxes and maximizing the profits. So these sort of activities, ultra neoliberal we can say, and they ultimately resulted in exploitation of the working class, not only in colonies but even in the Britain, and even in the quote unquote developed countries of those times, industrial countries of those times. So that's how the time is developing, and that's how these scholars, the idea of these scholars are developing. I already explained you that every scholar is the child of his time. Lasky said this thing because every scholar just observed the phenomenon happening around him, and he just tried to give the solution of that. His ideas are relevant to that time. That's why he became so much famous. Otherwise, there were so many scholars at that time. It was not that during 1806 from to 1730 there was only J.S. Mill and there were no other scholars. No, there were so many scholars, so many theories and publications and all. But J.S. Mill became famous because his work made sense for that time. Now, without much delay, let's start John Stuart Mill. So, J.S. Mill is called greatest champion of freedom of speech and expression. It is said that if there is anyone who is liberal, he is Mill. Here is the guy J.S. Mill and his wife. So, his time was 1806 to 1873, and basically he is called liberal because liberal. Just before explaining what is liberal, we should know the substantive heart of liberalism. So we should know what is liberalism. The substantive heart of liberalism is basically toleration. Why so? If somebody asks that liberalism means toleration or liberty, well, the point is, if there is no toleration, there cannot be any liberty. In words, there can be so many liberties, but if there is no toleration in the society, there cannot be any liberalism. And we can just give the example of this hate mongering of current times. that the apes were developed to defame the women. So if there is no toleration, there is no point of liberty, because you cannot express your views without any bias and without fear. So toleration is the substantive heart of liberty. Mill is called, it is said that anyone is liberal, he is Mill, because John Stuart Mill basically focuses on toleration, and he is the first scholar who develops his theory in such way. Let's see how. J.S. Mill says that democracy is not tyranny of majority. Liberty is possible only if there is toleration. That's why it is also said that Mill was, very emphatic supporter of democracy, and he gives theory of liberty, he gives theory of toleration. So it is said that he is liberal in a real sense. And if we compare him with John Locke, that even John Locke is known as father of liberalism, yet he only gave absolute right to property. So he sort of a scholar of possessive individualism. More than liberalism, John Locke focuses more on possessive individualism. Why? Because John Locke gives so much power to the individuals, and not only that, John Locke says that John Locke basically says that the individuals, they should have absolute right to property, and state is just a watchman. State is just a night watchman. So that's what the theory of John Locke is. And further he says that basically John Locke says that individual should be compensated, individual should be given maximum chance of profit, and to maximize his pleasure. So he focuses more on these aspects. But here J.S. Mill, he focuses more on how to provide liberty to the individual, and he gives right of freedom of expression, freedom of speech. We'll see it further. So no one before J.S. Mill gave theory of liberty. That's why it is said that if anyone is liberal, he is Mill. J.S. Mill was the first person to give theory of liberty. Now let us see peculiarity of Mill. Before studying, just having bird's eye view of J.S. Mill, that what are the works of what we'll see the characteristics of John Stuart Mill. So the first thing is inconsistency. It is said that he is utilitarian who destroys utilitarianism. He is champion of democracy, yet as reluctant democrat. He is prophet of liberty, but prophet of empty liberty. So why this inconsistency is there? That he wants to become something, and in the process he harms the same thing. The inconsistency is due to his times, and I already gave a hint to you that in the time of Mill there was excessive exploitation by the capitalist class, the bourgeois class, and it was the time of industrial revolution. Industrial revolution was at its peak, and there was blind race for colonies. Due to these reasons, there was excessive exploitation by the capitalist of working class. So this was happening in the colonies, but at the same time the situation was really very dark and grave even within the capitalist countries. So like people that time were recognizing only the classical model of liberalism, but not fully aware of the modern liberalism. Like that time liberalism basically means for the people who were having socialist inclination, liberalism became kind of bad word, because liberalism means exploitation, and that's why later on Karl Marx also comes due to that. So in this phase where liberalism is becoming too much exploitative, J.S. Mill comes and try to redefine, try to modify the basic tenets of liberalism, and that's why he seems to be inconsistent. Why? Because he tried to modify the same thing, and in the process his critic says that he destroys itself, liberalism and utilitarianism. Then it is said that Mill is also known as transitional thinker, like Machiavelli. And what was the time of transition? The transition was the over exploitation by the capitalist class. So this was a new phase in the history. So Mill was a scholar of that time. The another peculiarity of Mill is that he is the only thinker after Plato who advocated equality of man and woman. We'll see all these things into detail. If you have not seen the previous lectures, please do watch them, because otherwise these lectures will make absolutely no sense for you. Every lecture is in continuation. If you want to understand this one, you must know the previous lectures. So these are the 4 most important works of J.S. Mill. The first book is Utilitarianism. He just tried to he says that I am student of Bentham, and he tried to modify the utilitarianism. The second book is on liberty. If anyone is liberal, he is Mill. So that will that sort of develops from this book on liberty. Then the third one, considerations on representative government. J.S. Mill gives theory that how a government should be representative, everybody should have voice, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and so on. And the fourth work is the subjugation of women. So these are the 4 books of J.S. Mill. The first one on liberty, the subjugation of women, utilitarianism by J.S. Mill, and considerations on representative government. So these are the basic works of J.S. Mill. Now let us see them one by one. The first work of J.S. Mill, utilitarianism. So the theme of this book is revision of utilitarianism. But his critic says that in the process of revision of utilitarianism, he in fact destroys utilitarianism. Let us see how. Utilitarianism was the dominant philosophy of Britain, and especially in the time of Industrial Revolution. The liberal scholars, quote unquote, all these liberal scholars, if we see from Hobbes, in fact, from Hobbes, Locke, Mill, all these scholars, they just try to give the theories because they want to maximize the profit. They want to maximize the pleasure of the people, and not the people per se, but pleasure of the capitalist class, bourgeois class. And all these theories are just an instrument. That's why they say that everything should have utility for maximum profit, and in that sense they are the scholars of utilitarian line of thought. So just basically let's have some idea of what utilitarianism is. So utilitarianism, though Bentham was not the originator, but he is known as the father of utilitarianism because he converted utilitarianism into a systematic school of thought. Before that, like people used to speak about so to say, quote unquote, selfish theories in which the individual was kept at the center and everything was built around that. So earlier scholars also did that, but there was not systematic school of thought which says that utilitarianism it itself is an ethics. So that sort of theoretical input was brought by Bentham, and that's why utilitarianism was also known as Benthamism. And in Indian context, we can see utilitarianism is known as common man's philosophy. For example, Lokayat or Charvak philosophy. Charvak says that rinam kritva घृतं पिबेत यावत जीवेत सुखम जीवेत भस्मी भूतस्य देहस्य कुतः पुनरागमन भवेत. So basically Charvak says that जब तक जी रहे हो तब तक अच्छे से जियो, खाओ पियो ऐश करो। एक बार मर गए उसके बाद में किसने देखा है कि बाद में क्या होता है कि नहीं होता है? सो इट इज ए materialistic thought. These are materialist thoughts that matter is real and matter is real, and to maximize the pleasure, which is anti-spiritual, you know, so to say. So this utilitarianism philosophy, or we can say John Locke, J.S. Mill, and all these things, they are materialistic scholar for sure, and they says that maximize profit, maximize pleasure. Utilitarianism was also known as Pick's philosophy. Why? Because Mill says that, it's a famous statement of J.S. Mill, it's better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied. It's better to be a man dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Why was utilitarianism known as Pick's philosophy? It was known as Pick's philosophy because it became highly exploitative. Mill here brings the idea of Plato, idealism, that it's better to be, he brings sort of he brings in qualitative element, not only quantitative. That there is difference between not only in pleasures but also in types of persons. So he basically says that pleasure and happiness concept, we'll see it later on. So like here, utilitarianism, in utilitarianism, the nature of person is known as highly individualistic, like Thomas Hobbes, because man cannot understand the pain and pleasures of the other people. So utilitarianism says that a man can maximize his own pleasure. And state's role, what is state's role in utilitarianism? The state should be the minimal state, and the state intervention will create pain. So policies should be there to maximize the pleasure and minimize the pain. Pleasure means profit and pain means loss. So utilitarianism is basically greatest happiness of the greatest number. That is utilitarianism, and that's why it is criticized as Pick's philosophy, because it is against the poor's interest and working class interest, and it is based on capitalist principles. And the primacy was on happiness and not on numbers. The greatest happiness of greatest number, GHGN, it basically means that poor, if they are exploited, okay, they have to sacrifice the greatest happiness of greatest number. That means maximum people, if 70% people, they should be, if they are getting benefited, 30% should sacrifice, only you can satisfy the maximum number. But actually it didn't happen. It was just a propaganda. It was just a propaganda. How it was a propaganda? Because it was not greatest happiness of greatest number. It was just happiness of the bourgeois class, that's all. Under the garb of greatest happiness of greatest number, it was just happiness of the bourgeois class. Because the worker class, they were severely exploited. There was no question of happiness of the worker class. So it was a sort of propaganda. And utilitarianism says that there should be minimum state intervention, and it will result into more national income, which will result into more gross national product, which will result into more resources. Then the resources will trickle down through trickle down effect, and then the then the prosperity will be equally shared. But actually it does not happen. It result into laissez-faire capitalism, and this sort of capitalism leads to inequalities plus exploitation. So this was actually the goal, intended goal, but that's what actually happened due to utilitarianism. And utilitarianism just became, sort of instrument of exploitation, and that's why it is criticized as Pick's philosophy. Utilitarianism is criticized as Pick's philosophy. still you do not understand, please do ask in the comment box. I will personally answer them. And Mill himself considered a disciple of Bentham and tried to revise the utilitarianism to defend the utilitarianism. But actually, he is known as Peter who denied his master. Why? Let us see how. Bentham gave following features of utilitarianism. Because if we revised the Bentham's utilitarianism, first we should understand what Bentham said. Bentham said that man is utilitarian, man is selfish, individualistic. All actions are guided by pleasure and pain, and men want to maximize the pleasure and minimize the pain. And pleasure is quantitative, no concept of quality. Bentham says that Pushpin is as good as the poetry. That means there is no quality at all. Like pig's pleasure and man's pleasure, he says that it's absolutely same. What pig is enjoying, what man is enjoying, that is same. There is no difference of quality. Quality does not exist. Just have maximum pleasure. Exactly like Charvak. That's the famous slok of Charvak. It is said the same thing. Rinam kritva gritam pibet yavat jivet sukham jibet. Just enjoy life. Okay, in whatever way. If you are able to enjoy the life, that's it. It does not matter the quality. Either you are enjoying by drinking, or you are enjoying by poetry, you are enjoying by, say, watching a movie, you are doing yoga, everything is same. That's what the philosophy of Bentham is. Even if you are taking drugs, anything, all the pleasures are same. He says quality does not matter. So Bentham sort of says that persons also don't differ in quality. It's just only about quantity. So Bentham gave utilitarian ethics. What is the ethics? He says that utilitarianism itself is an ethical value. It itself is having moral sort of dimension he brings. And he gives falsific calculus for that. Falsific calculus formula. And what is this falsific calculus formula? No need to go into the too much details. The falsific calculus formula is just an algorithm for maximum pleasure. So Bentham gives falsific calculus formula just for just to develop an algorithm for maximum pleasure. He says that there are two sovereign masters, pleasure and pain. The men want to maximize the pleasure. That's why he says that because he wants to maximize the pleasure, so out of consequence, out of experience, right or wrong, it just depends upon the consequence. How right and wrong depends upon the consequence? Because if the consequence is the pleasure, everything depends upon the experience. If somebody is experiencing pleasure as the result, then the action is right. Otherwise the action is wrong. So end justifies the mean. Utility itself is an ethics. If some action maximizes pleasure, that means it has utility. That's why it is ethical, and that's why it is right. That's why it is pleasurable and fits in the algorithm of falsific calculus. And end justify means, as Machiavelli says. So now no need to explain that this sort of thinking, how it develops into over exploitation, and that's what happened. That's why utilitarianism came to know as Pig's philosophy. Now revision of Bentham by J.S. Mill. Let us see how J.S. Mill revises this Bentham's concept of utilitarianism. So in the book Utilitarianism, Mill tried to bring idealism of Plato. How he brings idealism? Because he sees that the biggest problem of utilitarianism is excessive materialism and individualism. These are the two evils. Bentham sort of says that this is a statement of Bentham. These two are the statements of Bentham, that rights are fruit of law and law alone. No right without law, no right contrary to law, no right anterior to law, and happiness of individual is the sole motto of legislature. Okay, so here Bentham sort of aligns with Locke, because Locke says that if there is no law, there is no liberty, and liberty is the main, liberty leads to freedom, and freedom is must for happiness. And so that was the thinking of Locke. And Bentham similarly says that rights are fruit of law and law alone. Why so? Because Bentham also supports government. Bentham also supports state, but only for the purpose of happiness of the people. He did not support state per se. He was not, uh, you know, any admirer of the state, but state was a necessary evil. State was a necessary evil, and state is a night watchman. So in that scenario, he supported state, and that's why he says that state is there, he should make law, and the law should be for the maximum pleasure of the individual. So that's what utilitarianism is. Now J.S. Mill says that these two are the biggest issues, excessive materialism and individualism. Because Bentham says that natural rights are nonsense upon stilts. They are rhetorical nonsense, anarchical fallacies, and terrorist language. These are the extreme words are used by Bentham with respect to natural rights. So that means he does not believe in the reason of man. Why? Because according to him, man wants to maximize its pleasure. If man wants to maximize the pleasure, then its reason cannot be trusted at all. And that's what he says. He says that natural law is nothing. There should be state-made laws, positive law. Bentham supports positive law. He says the negative laws or natural laws are just nonsense upon stilts. They are just rhetorical nonsense, anarchical fallacies, and terrorist language, and nothing else. Now let us see how Mill tried to bring idealism. And according to Mill, Mill does not change the basic tenet. He says that utility is a fundamental principle of ethics. So in that sense, he defends utility, and he defends utilitarianism itself also. He says that utilitarianism is nothing wrong, because utility is the basic principle of ethics. Somebody is having no utility, then where it is ethical? Ethical means it should have some utility. So, but he says that pleasure is both qualitative and quantitative. Here he brings Platonic thought. He says that poetry is definitely superior than Pushpin. Poetry and Pushpin cannot be equated. It has intellectual dimension, it has different degrees of pleasure. Basically, he brings the concept of pleasure and happiness. According to J.S. Mill, pleasure is physical need, satisfaction of the physical need. That is pleasure. But happiness is the satisfaction of soul. That's what Mill says. Mill says that like initially man may be like animals, and only satisfaction of appetite was the goal. But when the reason grows of man evolves and become more rational, and man becomes a progressive being. And that's why the utility based on broadest sense of quality and quantity. The concept of quality also comes with the time as the understanding of man develops. That was sort of argument of J.S. Mill. He says that realization of pleasure is direct, but happiness may be indirect, and maybe when we sacrifice pleasure for anyone else. And pleasure need not to be materialistic and can be spiritual. So basically, if we see it from the Indian philosophical point of view, if Indian philosophy of Vedanta, this argument seems quite hollow, and these arguments of Mill seems quite shallow, and to some extent quite childish, because in a sense he's saying that he's bringing a spiritual dimension. He's saying that Bentham gave the concept of pleasure, but here the concept of happiness is there, and happiness may be spiritual, where pleasure is just material. But in another sense, Mill itself is also giving the same materialistic thing. He does not bring it to any spiritual plane. Just for the sake of words, he is using these things. Otherwise, he also maximizes the pleasure just to placate the, discontent class, those who were adversaries, those who were exploited by the capitalist class. He just twisting the theory little bit here and there, but in real sense there is no spiritual element in that, as like pleasure is said, because Mill is also ultimately focusing on pleasure only. Now the second concept, uh, and the second theory of Mill on liberty comes, and this we'll study in the next class. Uh, and the remaining 2-3 theories of J.S. Mill, we'll study them one by one. So I hope that you liked our video. So if you have any query, please do ask them in the comment box. I will personally answer them. And if you like our videos, please subscribe the channel. Please share the videos like wildfire, because everybody cannot afford a coaching in, Delhi coaching mandis. So please share with others, and I hope that this will definitely add value to your preparation. Till next class, stay connected and work hard. Thank you so much for coming to S. Kumar's IS.